Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mikey, and today I wanted to do a quick video on the state of top lane in patch 8.7 for League of Legends. So I want to get into a few things here, and I want to start doing this each patch. For the people that watch my channel or potentially new people coming to the channel, I'm on a road to Diamond right now. I'm in mid-plat. I'm at Plat 4, 40 LP, so I'm not the best player in the world, but I feel like I do have a good read on the meta, and I do follow a lot of people who also are much higher rated, who also have a good read on the meta. So I'm pretty active, playing a lot of games, so trying to convey some information to you guys that I think would be useful, because I know a lot of people don't have time to kind of feel out the meta, and they kind of just want to know what's good right now, and they might not have time to read patch notes. So this kind of condenses all my thoughts on this patch in a quick video, so we can do this each time there's a new patch and you guys can stay updated on the game. So if you're new to the channel, welcome, and we'll jump right into it. So the state of top lane in patch 8.7. I feel that champions that feel strong right now are mainly tanks with strong team fight and objective control, and bruisers who can successfully use Conqueror. We do have some people who switch between Conqueror and other things based on the matchup. Like right now, I know Camille can use Conqueror, but she can also use Comet. It's just situational if she's up against a tank or not. Same with Fiora, she can use Klepto, but I have seen some people trying to use Conqueror on her into tank matchups, which is pretty strong. So there's a bunch of different things you can do. So examples of the champions I'm talking about are Cho'Gath. With his objective control, he feels really good right now with his ult. Jax, Aurelia, Tryndamere, Kled, Camille, Fiora, Sion, Ornn, Renekton, Darius, all these champions I've been seeing quite frequently. Kled in specific has looked really strong with the Conqueror Keystone because he wants to stay in combat for a long time, you know, and gain his health back with Skarl. So it's an interesting situation right there. Synergizes really well with him, but there's a lot of champions that are being played top right now. It's not a very strict meta. When I started playing again this season, there's a lot of Gnar, and we have seen Gnar fall off with the Frozen Mallet nerfs to some extent. He's still a strong solo queue champion. He can really abuse some matchups in lane, but I didn't put him on this list because I think it's kind of situational. So there are also some AP tops who are using the strength of the new AP items right now while also being a pocket pick into certain matchups, and that's the important part of the statement, is they're a pocket pick. I don't think you can spam these champions, but Teemo, Kayle, and Rumble post buff, as well as Singed. Singed changes his build based on the matchup and how he's doing, but Teemo, I have a decent win rate on Teemo. He feels pretty good, especially with the new Liandries, and when you hit Liandries, Sork Boots, and Nashers, you just do a ton of damage if you're not behind. So obviously he's easily abusable by a lot of the champions that we're seeing top right now. I'm thinking Darius, Camille, you know, Kled, anything, Tryndamere, anything that can spin onto him or jump onto him or chase him down really counters Teemo. So I don't think he works unless you're into a few specific matchups. Even Nasus kind of craps on him once you hit a certain level with the Wither and Nasus's ult, even if you get a little ahead. So I think you know, like Garen, but you don't see a lot of Garen. I have played him into Singed successfully, but the problem is if the Singed builds a Righteous Glory, he can kind of, or runs Ghost, he can run you down. So it's a very tedious matchup with Teemo. You need to really know how to space with him, or else you're just going to get dumped on. Kayle has a really high win rate right now. I think she's going to drop a little bit with the Ginsu's cost increase, and it looks like she has to some extent. But she abuses a lot of melee top laners, but again, a situational pick. And Rumble just got buffed. I think he's always in a weird state where if you know how to play him, he can be really dominating. And if he's overpowered or overtuned, he can take over a meta where you're just seeing Rumble's top all the time. But very situationally, he can be picked and do really well. Another thing I want to talk about is the Ignite buffs a few patches back. I think Ignite now brings more value. I'm seeing it tick off a lot of people, or tick a lot of people down to dying because they're not expecting it. But so I'm seeing it more often, but I still feel teleport is still a priority because of the necessity to support your team, match split pushes, and throw parties bot lane. So we're going to get more into that, why I think teleport's really important to continue carrying right now. So top lane feels extremely team reliant in this meta. That does not mean that you cannot carry from top lane or climb with top lane. It simply means that you have to adjust your playstyle accordingly. So with the Ignite changes and the Conqueror changes, we're kind of drifting away from this a little more. It's getting a little more explosive. Taking some of the health off of the Resolve tree is making lanes a little more dynamic, easier to get ahead. But in this meta, look to impact the bot lane more frequently over choosing to abuse your lane opponent. So when I first started playing top lane a few seasons ago, or a couple seasons ago, right? Yeah, a few seasons ago. Basically, what I was taught was you want to abuse top lane as much as possible. I think at the time there was less catch-up XP than there is now. So you would get a couple kill lead on your opponent. So taking Ignite was a little more viable. You wanted to take the turret, but you also, sometimes you could zone them off of their turret so they keep missing waves, and you can proxy all sorts of things to really just make the enemy top laner useless. And that was kind of a more impactful way to play the game. Right now, I don't think that's the fact at all. I think I feel like bot lane is usually the lane that gets their first tower taken first, and it's kind of a race to the bot lane for everybody in the game. Generally, unless you're a certain champion like Tryndamere that running Demolish that has a lot of attack speed or Jax that can take down turrets after getting a couple kills, you're probably not getting the first turret unless bot lane is a stalemate. So that's why I feel that taking more of a team-oriented approach, if your instinct is to keep dicking your 0-2 Aurelia lane opponent, that might not be the best thing to do. I would look to take your advantage. Potentially, if you don't get the tower, push the wave and, maybe go look to roam to mid or to TP bot to make a play and then get your butt back up to top lane to catch a wave. You might only miss a wave. So another thing I wanted to talk about is avoid tilting at all costs. Now, wait on me here. I know this is something I yell about in all of my videos trying to get better at League, but you can be a positive support for your team as a top laner, and you can keep morale up and use effective roams to help when efficient. So if your bot lane loses and they're tilted because they lost the 2v2, remember, you're a solo laner. You're going to be a few levels ahead of their bot lane. If you go bot and there's a 3v2 and nobody else is there, you can do a lot of damage because you should be a few levels up. And if you're ahead, then you're going to be quite a few levels up. So, and if you are camped, do not sweat it and play more passive. This is the avoid tilting part. Understand that you are drawing pressure to a lower impact role at the moment, in my opinion. If you are soaking jungle pressure by getting camped, that means bot has a higher chance of winning or not losing. And asking your jungle to come help you might stop your bleeding, but it is not helping the carries get ahead. So you need to think as a secondary support player, I think. You need to be the one to absorb pressure and maybe play some champions that you feel like you get away from ganks better because, in my opinion, the top and jungle right now, yeah, it's relevant, but especially if it's like a tank versus tank matchup, man, if you're 30-40 CS behind, that's a lot less important than being 30-40 CS behind in a carry matchup. So that's what I'm saying is if you feel like it's a stalemate top lane and you get a little advantage and you can push their lane and you go to back, look to TP bot, look for that deep ward bot, or look to randomly gank mid lane. Those are the things where you can take the low impact that I think top lane can have. Obviously, in a game, if you have more impact than the top laner more often than not, you're going to climb. You're going to win more than 50% of your games over a large sample size. But I think the way to do it in this meta is to try to spread it. Maybe invade with your jungler to kill the enemy jungler or to steal a few buffs. Little things like that. Get some wards down in the enemy jungle. Don't just try to hoard everything. Don't hoard all the farm. If someone needs to go clean up a wave and there's no objectives to be taken on the map that you would need to TP to a fight for, send your AD carry or send your mid laner. Kind of be a little more generous. Don't steal camps, things of that nature. I think you need to approach the game a little. Obviously, you can still carry. You need to be a dominant force by getting to your items, getting all your farm, things of that nature. But you just got to shift your focus a little away from 1v9ing. I feel like that's just the reality nowadays. So like I was saying, I would recommend a more team-oriented style over split pushing with the current state of the game. I am not saying that split pushing doesn't work now, but with excessive globals, shielding, and the strength of 80 carries, I believe it is more easily punished. Like when you're seeing a lot of Galio, seeing some Rise play, TF, Pantheon, the support items being pretty strong right now in the shielding. I think it's a little harder to get that huge lead split pushing where you can just 1v2 all the time, because their Galio is going to ult on top of you and then you'll die. And when you die in a split push, it's extremely damaging to your team. So I also believe that some support-oriented items to keep your 80 carry alive is extremely viable if you are playing tanks. With the nerf to Locket, I think this is less of a thing. I felt really strong, even with double Locket, just popping it at different times on a team, having a Locket and my support having a Locket. But if my support was like a Janna, I would build a Locket as a tank top. It's less of a thing, but still something to think about. So anything that creates pressure for your team. So Locket gives you a shield in team fights. It was pretty hard nerfed. I don't know how to feel about it anymore, but it should still be acceptable on big tanks. Banner of Command to make your Baron pushes a lot stronger, or if you're against an AP top laner, a way to kind of keep them in lane while you go affect the map. Things like Frozen Heart, if they have a lot of attack speed, champs, auto attack, champions on their team, like think of Yasuo mid with a Jinx bot and a Master Yi jungle. Things like that the aura and the slower attack speed can really help. And things like Zerat Portal, obviously it's a very situational item, but you understand what I mean. Things to help you pressure an area of the map while being able to affect other parts of the map is pretty strong. So another thing is keep your champion pool tight and have a few champs to sort through to abuse certain matchups, and have a couple that are safe to blind pick first. So matchups feel extremely important in this meta, especially, I mean, they always are. But I feel like having blind picking your top lane right now feels pretty crappy, especially when you get into higher elo, not at the elo I'm at or most of us are at, or in the lower elos, it doesn't matter. But in upper elos, they definitely know how to counterpick really well. And even I see it a lot in Platinum, get counterpicked a lot if somebody plays something. I believe the reason Sion, this is a champion I play pretty well, but I feel like he's still pretty strong after that should be bug fix, not buff fix. The bug fix on his E shortened the width of it. And that I definitely felt something after that. It lowered his win rate. It definitely put him back in his place a little bit. But I feel like the fact that he is still strong is because he can facilitate his other lanes more than a lot of other top laners. Does it like Pantheon does, as well as being a safe blind pick top. So with your shield and with your EQ combo and your ult to get away, I feel like Sion's a really safe pick top. But what's also cool is if you win a trade and they have to back and you push your lane, and let's say you're still healthy, you can go get some fruit in the river. A lot of people don't expect, a lot of mid laners don't expect a Sion or a tank. A lot of top laners aren't roaming down to mid unless they're playing things like a Kali, Talon, things like that. So kind of out of nowhere, you can come in blaring with the Sion, I'll hit them at long range, do a ton of damage and blow up the mid laner, and then you back and get back to top lane without missing anything. So I feel, or you could, another thing I would like to do is push my laner out of lane, or get a wave push to him, go back when I still have teleport up, go bot lane and kind of have the bot lane bait and go alt into bot lane, get a kill or two for my bot lane, create some pressure there, and then back and then TP back up to top lane to catch the wave. So I think what I'm basically getting at is champions that can affect the map feel really good right now. Rise, TF, Pantheon, Sion, having influential movement around the map while still applying pressure is important, and I think that's why teleport, even with the ignite buffs, is still crucial. So I would say this is an optional thing. Encourage your jungler to focus effort elsewhere, and unless an absolute free gank. You can say this at the beginning of the game. I know it's kind of cheeky, but generally from time to time I'll say, hey, focus other lanes, especially if I really like the champion picks and the people are playing competently. Maybe mention something like ping them off of risky dives and ping them off of risky ganks that could get counter ganked if you think the enemy jungler is nearby, because basically you want to hold down top lane like a fort and be able to affect the map. And especially if you're playing against a carry champion, you don't want to give them kills. And honestly, getting more pressure on a tank top or on a bruiser isn't as huge as you think it is. Yes, you can get fed on Darius and Tryndamere, and you can kind of run over teams a little bit, but I think it's based on what you're playing and what the enemy is playing. If you want to go and put a Maokai 0-4 behind by drawing all of your junglers' attention, and you're a Scion, so now you're a 4-0 Scion, and okay, that's cool, you're really beefy, but it's not nearly as important as having a 4-0 Jinx or a 4-0 Caitlyn. So that's basically what I'm saying, is maybe discourage. You don't have to discourage the jungle focus onto top lane, because it's not as impactful, I feel like, right now to have jungle come top. But you can not encourage it. So if you get camped, don't whine about it. Just absorb the pressure. Just understand you're absorbing the pressure. Accept the flame. Mute everyone if they're bothering you. Just kind of own it and ward, and make sure that you're stopping the bleeding as best you can yourself. If they're diving you, give up turret and just move on. Don't give up a kill and the turret. So I don't think that's happening as much as meta. I still get ganked, but very rarely am I getting top or camped top and having a bunch of junglers and top laners run over the game. A lot of times I notice if my jungler focuses bot lane and they camp me and I go like 0-3 or 1-3 in lane, and my bot lane is ahead of their bot lane, and we get to team fights, I still feel like we're winning team fights. So just accept that. You don't need to worry. You're not going to lose the game. Don't tilt. You're fine. Absorb the pressure. So that's the state of top lane, in my opinion, right now. Obviously, I'm only in like plat 4 or 40 LP, so that puts me at like the top 6% of ranked players. But so I'm not like the top 1%. I don't know everything about the game, but this is what I feel about the meta right now, and I want to start making these to document the progression of meta over time, and hopefully new people see this and enjoy it, and can get some value out of it, and can look to shape their play in the top lane. And even if you're not top lane, knowing other roles and their role in the game and what they're thinking, because knowing what your top laner is thinking might help you as a support or an AD carry, saying, oh, maybe I should walk up and take a little bit of damage to get this deep ward, because my top laner might be looking bot lane for a pretty juicy TP gank. So anyways, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, like the video, hit me up down below. I answer all comments. Pretty much whenever I see a comment, I'll answer it. And subscribe if you like the content. Go check out some of my other stuff. And I hope you have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you soon.